Salut tout le monde! Welcome back to Unintentionally Frenchified. I'm Kate. If you haven't seen any of my videos, then it is very important for you to know for this video that I am an American living in France for the last 10 years. There are so many positive things about being an American in France. However, this video is not going to be at all about the positives. It is about the 5 worst things about being an American and living in France. As simple as that. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, you know what to do. Otherwise, let's get rolling. C'est parti. First up, people are shocked. Shocked that I speak French fluently, like all the time. Why? Because America has a terrible reputation for not being proficient in other languages and for expecting everybody to speak English no matter where they go when they're traveling or living abroad. Less than 1% of Americans speak a second language proficiently thanks to what they learned in a classroom. We're not counting people's parents who aren't native English speakers here, but still only 1%. In some ways I get it. English is the international language. It's a language for travel, and it also happens to be the language that we speak in the US. So there's a bit of this like, what's the big deal debate? Like, why is it so necessary? But at the same time, learning a foreign language has so many benefits. Whether it's opening your eyes to another culture, whether it's developing different areas of the brain related to language, whether it's opening the doors for new job opportunities, the list of benefits are endless. And when we don't prioritize learning other languages, we kind of give the impression to people that we don't really give a shit about them. A bit of like, well, if English is the international language, then you should be learning English anyway, so why do I need to learn your language? And the worst part is when you compare Americans with, say, like the UK or Canada or Australia. We as Americans really have the reputation of arriving in other countries and kind of screaming English and talking really fast and getting frustrated when people don't understand us. So I feel like whenever I meet someone for the first time and I speak French fluently, and I speak it with quite an accent, it's very evident that I learned it as a second language. It's always like, wow, your French is so good for an American. And then I'm like, okay, well, I've been living here for 10 years, so it's pretty normal that I picked up like a good level of French now. It's not like you can expect American tourists just traveling abroad to be speaking every language in every country they visit. And then every time they pull out some embarrassing story about American expats that lived in France for 5+ years, never bothered to speak the language, only used English to get by, etc., etc. And I'm like, yeah, well, what can I say? Maybe not our strength, but we tend to be very friendly. Before I go to my second point, Lingoda Language School is sponsoring this video, and this is the perfect time to do a shout out because whether you're eager to learn another language or whether you're an American wanting to smooth over our reputation of not speaking other foreign languages, this is the perfect time to get going because Lingoda is having another language sprint. Woo! Who doesn't love a good language sprint? You get to transform your language skills and you have the possibility of getting 100% cash back, and it all starts on August 2nd. Lingoda is the #1 trusted online language school, so whether you want to learn German, whether you want to learn Spanish, French, English, they have 24-hour, small, online, flexible classes run by native speakers of that language, ready to take you from struggling to speaking confidently in just 3 months. And honestly, let me show you how easy it is once you sign up for a sprint or sign up for classes to actually book a class. Like, the entire experience is so seamless, and I personally love that because it really helps make sure you won't lose any motivation. You won't be like, I can't figure out how to book a class. I don't have any classes that work on my schedule. I don't know what I'm supposed to study before class. Everything's clear. All you have to do is once you sign up for the sprint, you can access the platform where you click here and you can book a class. You can choose the day of the week and the time, and it really filters things down right away. I'm actually a pretty big group fan because I like listening to other people and learning with them, and the classes are on average 2 to 3 people, so you still get a ton of one-on-one time. So pretty much you can scroll and choose the class, you can find out more info. Also, you can download the course material ahead of time if you want to learn. You can see how many seats are left since it's like a max of 5 people. And then you pretty much just click book now. Yep, it is that simple, easy peasy. So for the super sprint, it is 30 classes a month for 3 months, and you can get 100% cash back if you commit and you do it as long as you sign up before June 24th. This is an early bird special. After that, you can still purchase the super sprint and you can still sign up for it, but you only get 50% cash back if you commit and you make it. And of course, you can still sign up for the sprint. So until registration closes on July 16th, you can sign up to do 15 classes a month for 3 months and then get 50% cash back. I have put all the links below in the description so you can check out more info on their website. I highly recommend going to their Instagram account and checking out some of the different reviews and experiences that alumni sprinters have left. Read the FAQ page that I put below, and don't forget to check out terms and conditions. That's always important whenever you're committing to anything. General sign up is until July 16th, and the early bird special for 100% cash back is until June 24th. So go, go, go. Do not miss out. Okay, back to the second worst thing about living in France as an American. Speaking too loud. Is anyone out there? All right, yes, I'll admit it, Americans scream. We shout at each other. I have no idea why. If anyone out there in the YouTube atmosphere knows why Americans talk so loud, please let us know in the comments. But yes, we talk loud. On a scale to 1 to 10 in volume, I would say what a 3 is for Americans would be like a 10 for the French, like all out screaming as you talk to each other. And when I first moved to France, this was really frustrating, borderline annoying, because I just felt like people were constantly staring at me and constantly glaring at me. And the thing was, it was just second nature. I didn't realize that I was being loud. I didn't realize that I was bothering people. And I was just like ticking people off every time I stepped into a restaurant, every time I was in a store talking to someone, literally just like every time I left my house, I was annoying people. After 10 years, this has gotten better, but I would still say on a weekly basis, my husband is like, Kate, shh, we have neighbors. Like, we actually share a wall with our neighbors right here. Lower your voice. And I'm like, yeah, you're right, I'm shouting again. But for the most part, I have adjusted to the point now where when I hear other Americans shouting, for example, it's the metro in the morning at 8 a.m. and there's a group of tourists on their way to do something and they're shouting about their day, there's a part of me that's like, shh, lower your voice. Everybody in the metro is glaring at you. And then there's another part of me that wants to look at everyone and say, stop judging them. They don't realize they're so loud. They don't realize they're being so annoying. They're not doing it on purpose. Calm yourself. So number 3 and 4 are topics that I really don't enjoy discussing with people I don't know, but the French love to talk to me. And when I say the French, I mean people I don't know. I'm meeting you for the first time, or I'm riding in your taxi and you're chatting to me. It's really not people that I'm close with that bring up these topics. So number 3 is a tricky one. It's obesity in the US and kind of obesity in general. The US and France have very different views when it comes to approaching obesity. In the US, we have a very large movement about learning to love your body, to accept your body, that your weight is a private matter. It's not something to be discussed and dissected by other people, and really just to stop fat shaming people and just let people live their lives. It's a personal matter and it's up to them to live as they feel comfortable living. Then you have the French. With a social welfare system, health is definitely not seen so much as a private topic as much as it's a public topic. And so therefore, obesity is seen as a health issue that affects the entire society and that needs to be fixed. So it's less about appreciating your body and more about losing weight for a health reason. Therefore, the rising obesity rates in the world, and specifically in the US, is a topic that they feel very comfortable bringing up and asking about often. So when it comes to the portion sizes in the US, because they're 2 times larger than in France, when it comes to what children eat in the US and what are the vending machines and why don't we offer correct lunches to them, what about about hormones in American food and what we're eating, and do we realize, the nasty stuff that we eat on a regular basis? I mean, the list goes on and on. And the thing is I do understand what the French mean when they say that it's a health issue, because you want your friends and your family to be as healthy as they can be. And on the other side of that, I've gone through a period in France where I've gained weight, and I have been so fat shamed and had so much pressure to lose that weight that I also understand what that can do to somebody's mental psyche and health when someone's constantly criticizing or making comments about your body like you can't see it or aren't living in it. And I find most French people just can't really see past the medical side of it, and they constantly want the Americans' point of view about America. And even as I'm discussing it right now, I'm just by myself, but I'm getting kind of heated about it. It's just not a topic that I feel comfortable discussing. And of course, I can say to someone I don't want to talk about it, but it's just when you first meet someone and you're trying to be polite and you're trying to keep the conversation going, you don't want to put a blocker, but at the same time I'm like, ugh, do we have to discuss this again? All right, and the second one, a topic that gets brought up all the time, is politics. I've talked about this before in some of my other videos. The thing is, growing up in the Midwest of the US, politics was not a subject that you would talk a lot with people even you were close to, but definitely not something that you would bring up with someone you didn't know really well. It was pretty much considered impolite to grill someone, to even ask somebody what their political views were, or how did they vote, or what did they think about politics. It just was pretty much a taboo subject, I would say. France is not at all on the same wavelength about politics. It is far from being a taboo subject, and most people are very comfortable talking about politics, debating politics, discussing, giving their points of views over a beer with someone that they just met. It's not at all taboo, or at least way, way less taboo. And the US politics is quite a hot topic because our politics does dictate a lot of what happens on the world stage, and so it's something that gets discussed quite regularly. So even before President Trump's arrival in office, I would get asked my views on politics from the server at a restaurant, the taxi driver, someone in a party that I just met the first night. Really random people that I didn't really know. I can't even begin to explain to you what life was like during President Trump's presidency and all the different questions that I got. But at the end of the day, it's the same thing as the last point. Yes, you can say to people, I'm not really interested in talking about it. Point 3 with the talks around obesity and body image, that would be an easier one to be I'm not interested in talking about it. Politics is a little bit harder because in France, people are taught when it comes to cultural things and things like politics that there's nothing worse than not having an opinion. Because when you don't have an opinion, it means that you're not cultured enough on the subject, you're not reading up, you're not educating yourself. And honestly, kids are really taught in France to have an opinion on subjects. So by being I don't want to talk about politics, it doesn't necessarily come off as oh, it's a touchy subject for me. It more comes off as oh, you don't really know that much about politics too. And it's kind of seen as a negative thing. So it's harder to get out of that discussion. All right, everyone, that is a wrap on the 5 worst things about being an American in France. This is obviously my take on it and what I find complicated. I can't wait to hear in the comments if you're an American living in France. Let me know. If you are from just a foreigner living in France, I want to hear what your situation's like and what do you find difficult about living in France. I can't wait. I'm looking forward to these comments below. Don't forget about Lingoda. Check everything out in the description below. The early bird special finishes on June 24th and general sign up is done on the 16th. So go find out everything in the description below. I hope you all have a fabulous week and I will see you la semaine prochaine. Bisous!